So this problem, we need to find out the value of x whenever we have an equation, a trigonometric equation given by cosecant of pi over 2 plus theta plus x times cosine of theta times cotangent of pi over 2 plus theta equals sine of pi over 2 plus theta. So what we're going to do, we are going to take some of the trig ratios and we are going to simplify it. So let's begin with cosecant of pi over 2 plus theta. Now that means we have here is a multiple of 1. So 1 being an odd number, we have an odd multiple of pi over 2. So whenever we have an odd multiple of pi over 2, then cosecant must change to secant. So we're going to have a secant function and the new angle is going to be simply this angle theta. Now we'll also have to take care of the sine. For that we will be using the quadrant system. So we start from the first quadrant. So in the first quadrant we have 1 times pi over 2. So 1 times pi over 2 is like going to lie in the first quadrant, but we are adding an extra angle theta to it. So think about it. So in the first quadrant, our angle measure is of 90 degree, but adding angle theta to it is going to take us to the second quadrant. Now in the second quadrant, the sine and cosecant functions are positive. So what? We started out with the cosecant function, so that means its value should be positive. So don't be confused that we have got a secant theta and in the second quadrant secant theta must be negative. No, that's not the reason. So we're getting a positive value because we're working with cosecant function. Similarly, coming to the next ratio, we have cotangent of pi over 2 plus theta. So here also we have an odd multiple of pi over 2. So cotangent is going to transform into tangent function and the angle is going to be theta. So pi over 2 minus theta means we are in the second quadrant where only sine and cosecant are positive. Everything else is going to be negative. So we are working with cotangent function. So its value is going to be negative. And finally, we have sine pi over 2 plus theta. On the right hand side, sine pi which is an odd multiple of pi over 2, sine is going to transform to cosine and angle will be theta. Then the second quadrant, sine is positive, so our value is going to be positive because we're working with the sine function. So that corresponds to the positive value, not because of this cosine theta that we have obtained as a result. Fine. Now we can simplify this. So that means our new equation is going to be secant theta plus x times cosine theta multiplied to cotangent of theta, but that will become negative tangent theta equals to, we have sine pi over 2 plus theta, so that corresponds to cosine theta. So we have secant of theta minus x times, now tangent theta, that's the ratio of sine over cosine, so that means cosine times tangent of theta corresponds to sine theta, which will be equals to cosine theta. So let's rearrange the terms. That's going to give us x times sine theta equals to secant theta minus cosine theta. So we have x, we're going to divide both sides with sine theta. We have secant theta divided by sine theta minus cosine theta over sine theta, which we can further simplify as, so secant theta, that's the reciprocal of the cosine function. So we have 1 over sine theta. From secant theta, we're going to get cosine theta multiplied to the denominator sine theta minus cosine theta over sine theta. So let's combine the two fractions. So we have x equals to, our common denominator is going to be sine theta times cosine theta, and in the numerator the first term is going to be 1 and the next second term is going to be cosine squared theta. Now we have a standard identity, cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta, so that's equals to 1. Which means sine squared theta must be equals to 1 minus cosine squared theta. So what we can do, we can use this identity and we could replace the numerator 1 minus cosine squared theta with sine squared theta. So we're going to get sine squared theta divided by sine theta times cosine theta. Now 1 sine theta from the denominator and 1 from the numerator factors out, and that leaves us with the ratio sine over cosine. And we clearly know that this ratio is defined as the tangent function. So x value comes out to be tangent theta.